Hey guys, Mrhappy here, and today I'm going to be going over some class and job changes that I'd like to see for patch 2.1. They've already started hinting at some of the things that they might do, but this is more of a wish list of balance changes that I wish they would make. And in this video, we're going to focus primarily on damage dealing jobs, so Monk, Bard, Dragoon, Summoner, Black Mage. Don't worry, this video is not going to be that long. There's really not a lot of changes that I'd like to see across these jobs, but I know they're going to be making balance changes, so let's just take a guess at what some of them might be. So first, we're going to go towards Monk. Now, the first thing, before I say anything about Monk, is that they're going to be working on increasing melee uptime on the boss, because a lot of melee lose too much DPS, really, and I agree. That melee lose too much DPS to certain mechanics that range don't necessarily have to lose as much damage dealing with. So, Monk, that's going to fix it enough. Honestly, that could be a change in itself. That's enough for me to not even want to touch Monk change-wise. And really, there's just a few tiny things that I want to fix with Monk. The first is, give them a ranged attack. They're the only job in the game that doesn't have a ranged attack, and I know shoulder tackle is the shortest gap closer in the game, but I'd still like to see something like Chi Blast potentially, just for more cohesion with the job, it being the only job in the game that does not have a ranged attack. Usually, the reason why, you don't use shoulder tackle when other jobs can use ranged attacks is because going in melee range will get you killed. So, just good. It's just good for the health of the game, in my belief. Also, I wish they'd reduce the animation time on Demolish. I've tested it, and it seems just slightly longer than Chaos Thrust and Phlebotomize and all the other dots that most other jobs apply. It seems like it takes about a second and a half for most animations to go off, and Demolish takes just slightly longer than that. So those are the only two real balance changes that I'd like to see from Monk. I'm sure they're going to be moving things around with Grease Lightning and Twin Snakes. They might extend Twin Snake's duration, which I think would also be extremely good for the health of Monk. It seems kind of strange that you need to hit such a high level of skill speed in order for you to even to begin to utilize True Strike. So maybe they're expecting gear to eventually offset that, but I think that they could just give it a few more seconds, 3 more seconds maybe on Twin Snakes, and I think that that would be okay. So those are the 3 changes I'd like to see on Monk. Also, fix the tooltips for Fist of Fire, Wind, and Earth, please. I'm tired of them saying their 1.0 counterpart. So get those things out of the way, and I think Monks will be very happy. Next, we're going to talk about Bard. Now, they've already talked about working on Bard nerfs, specifically to reduce the uptime that Bards have on enemies. So for those of you who don't know, Bard, assuming that they're not afraid to shoot and move at the same time, Bards have a 100% uptime on any enemy or boss. As long as something's targetable and attackable, they have a 100% uptime on that enemy. So we're going to talk about that a little bit later, though. First, I want them to fix a few things about Bard, because some things are not really clear. The first 2 things are Wind Bite and Flaming Arrow. Now, Wind Bite claims it does wind damage, and Flaming Arrow claims it does fire damage. However, it doesn't take a genius to see that this is hardly true. The initial application, though it claims it's wind damage on Wind Bite, very clearly deals physical piercing damage. This can be seen in turn 4 when the soldiers, which are supposed to be immune to physical damage and only take magic damage, you cannot apply these attacks to them, wind damage and fire damage. It can also be seen from both of these abilities that Full Requiem does not increase the damage that they deal. So it's pretty safe to assume that Wind Bite and Flaming Arrow are both not actually dealing magical damage currently. And I'd really like to see them fix that, because I think that overall would increase Bard's DPS enough to offset to reduce their uptime, because once you reduce their uptime, their DPS is going to shoot down quite a bit. So fixing this should sort of offset those changes. Additionally, I'd like to see them fix Battle Voice. Currently, Battle Voice, great ability, but it doesn't work on the Bard themselves, and it doesn't designate anywhere on the ability that it doesn't work on the Bard itself. So basically here, if you see, I've done an example here. I'm doing the voiceover a little bit separately, but as you can see, there's a difference here. If I do Payon without Battle Voice, it's 30 TP per tick. If I do Payon with Battle Voice, it's still 30 TP per tick, at least on myself. Everyone else around me is getting 60 TP, but I'm still only getting 30. Either make Battle Voice say that it's everyone around you, or fix it so that it also works on the Bard themselves. Now, next thing I'd like to see, another thing to offset the uptime changes, is to improve the weapon damage to be on par with the other physical jobs. Even if you don't bring it exactly up to par, the fact that it's scaling so poorly right now means that eventually Bard's weapons will be significantly weaker than all of the melee weapons. Now, unless they keep the exact same difference, currently between Relic plus 1s, It's 41 weapon damage versus 46 weapon damage. If they keep it at that 5 difference always, then it won't be that bad. So as long as they scale it upwards like that. However, if it scales upwards to a point where the difference starts increasing even more, bards will start to fall more and more behind in terms of DPS. And unfortunately, in the game, that's what they're labeled as, a ranged DPS. Sure, they have supporting features, but you got to remember that you do, when they queue for a party, they're queuing as a DPS slot. So keep that in mind, Square Enix, because you really have to make sure you don't take the wrong direction with this job. You have to pick a direction and really stick with it. And you picked ranged DPS, so I'd really stick with it. And the last thing, and this goes in line with the changes that they want to make. They want to reduce Bard's uptime on bosses. Very simple. Give Heavy Shot a cast time. That is all you have to do to reduce Bard's uptime on a boss. It also reduces the number of straighter shot procs they get. So overall, it brings down their DPS significantly, because as soon as they're moving and they're not using Heavy Shot, they have to figure out what else they're going to do in that time. So usually, I don't know. I guess that would just mean they have to spam straight shot. I don't know if they'd give bards another tool to use while they're moving, similar to Scathe or Ruin 2. Most jobs have some sort of ability to do while they're moving. Bards, the fact that they're auto-attacking may just be enough. So we'll see exactly what they have planned, but I think that's a good change, is to give Heavy Shot a cast time. It would definitely reach the goal that they're looking for. But let's get away from Bard. Those are all the changes that I'd like to see on the Bard. The next job, and this one's going to be real quick, Dragoons. They've already announced that they're fixing the only problem I have with Dragoons, and that's currently the animation time on their jumps. Now, survival aside, jumps on Dragoon take way too long. So a jump on a Dragoon takes about 2.5 seconds to do. So even doing it between the global cooldown is extremely difficult. Some Dragoons have even theorized that not using your jumps altogether, increases survivability, because you never have to worry about a poorly timed jump, although most good Dragoons know when's the right time to jump and when's the not right time to jump. So, but also, you lose so much time. Every time you jump, you're losing a bit of your global cooldowns. So you really have to play, is it only worth it to use Power Surge? Is it not worth it at all? When they bring the animation times down on jump, however, you're going to see a sharp increase in DPS for Dragoons, just because they won't be losing that time at all. They won't be losing time on applying their dots. They won't be losing time on their full thrust combos. They will be doing a lot more DPS. They've already said they're working on fixing that, so that one's good. Thumbs up on that, Square Enix. Next, Summoner. Now, people are probably going, whoa, 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 what could you possibly want to do about Summoner? It's so overpowered. Well, Summoner's not overpowered, and here's the thing. Most of the people claiming that Summoner was overpowered, and this is weeks ago that this was happening. We're using a parser that was bugged with Fester. If you use Fester right after bio, each bio tick would count as, I believe it was 300 or 400 potency. It would count as a Fester tick almost. So it would be doing 300 potency per tick on the parser. They've since fixed that, and Summoner's numbers seem far more in line with everybody else's numbers. Their numbers and the pet numbers combined are reaching about the same tiers as most other jobs are in the game. With that in mind, I'd like to see the interaction between Aether Flow and Aether Flow abilities sort of increased. I mean, I don't want them to become like Black Mages, where they're entirely proc dependent, because that's a Black Mage staple, and that's not a Summoner staple. Summoner staple is controlled damage over time, and that's good. However, I think that the interaction with Aether Flow is a bit lacking. You use it, you get the MP back, you get your 3 Aether Flow stacks, you pop a Fester, your Festers are gone within 20 to 25 seconds. If you use Fester as soon as Aether Flow comes up, and then once again 10 seconds later, and once again 10 seconds later, about 20 seconds, now you have 40 seconds of no interaction with your Aether Flow abilities, no interactions with your Banes, your Energy Drains, or your Festers. So, I think they need some sort of way of interacting with Aether Flow abilities, possibly link it to the pet and the damage that the pet does. They already have something for pet critical strikes, so they could do something else potentially. Every so-and-so pet ability will generate a stack of Aether Flow. Make it very, very rare. Don't flood Summoners with Aether Flow stacks. I just would like to see them have the ability to use Bane and Fester in clutch situations without Aether Flow. Be able to save Aether Flow stacks and use them for important phases without having to rely on the ability. Just make it like a 5% chance, sort of like Thundercloud perhaps. Just a 5% chance somewhere to generate an Aether Flow stack. Put it on Ruin 2, I don't know. But just increase their interactions with it. And other than that, there's really nothing I would change. Both Ifrit and Garuda are parsing fantastically, and they're very, very competitive in terms of the overall DPS you do with both of them. So I think those are perfectly balanced right now. I would also like to see Enkindle's cast time be reduced a little bit. But that's something for another time. And Kindle's recast and cast time, actually, I think bring it down to maybe 180 seconds or 210 seconds or something like that. Just bring it down for 5 minutes. 5 minutes seems like too long for what Kindle actually does. So hopefully you enjoy those summoner changes, if though they do anything along those lines. And the final job, Black Mage, really, I don't think there's anything they can do to this job. I used to say I thought they could change Flare, but Flare has really sort of people have begun to find Flare's place in everything. Specific fights when Flare is simply amazing. Times when using Flare is right with Convert. I used to think that the whole fact that it gave 3 stacks of Astral Fire was sort of a waste of the additional effect, but I don't see that as much anymore, and I don't really know what else you could make. You could potentially make it deal damage over time, but Flare's main purpose is a small range AoE nuke. It does that job very well, so I don't think they should change that. All of their other abilities work very well in tune with each other. The only thing that they could even possibly change is to make Fire's travel time a little bit less, and honestly, that wouldn't even accomplish anything, so I don't really see a point at all in doing that. Overall, I think that Black Mage is perfectly done. They may need to tweak the numbers a little bit, but we're not talking about exact numbers, exact potency changes. We're talking about core mechanics of each job. Black Mage, I think Square Enix did a very good job with them, as boring as they can be at times. Sometimes you may not like to press a lot of buttons, but you like to see giant numbers explode. Hey, Black Mage is for you. But anyway, guys, those are all the changes that I'd like to see in the damage dealing jobs in Final Fantasy XIV. Come patch 2.1, we probably won't see almost any of these changes. The heavy shot getting a cast time, maybe. The animation times and jumps, I know we'll get. Monk, we're getting the better melee uptime. That's good for Monk and Dragoon. Summoner, we probably won't see any more interaction with Aether Flow, but it's all wishful thinking, guys. So what do you think? What changes would you like to see to Summoner, Black Mage, Dragoon, Bard, or Monk? What would you like to see? Leave it in the comments below. Feel free to discuss it. If you enjoyed this video, please like, favorite, subscribe, and share for more Final Fantasy XIV A Realm Reborn information and videos. Also, be sure to follow me on Facebook and Twitter. Let me know what you think. If you have any questions, you can reach out to me on those platforms. It's much easier to reach me there than through YouTube, guys. But anyway, guys, thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. Until next time, take care.